Right, that'll have to do. Okay, so well, welcome everybody, and thanks for joining me on another live meditation session. And actually, that little demonstration there is a little bit like the day it's been today for me, because it's one of those very hectic days, and trying to even get this meditation session organized was quite difficult for me today, because we've had in the background workmen making all sorts of noise, which fortunately has gone quiet now. But in a way, that's kind of in keeping with what I want to talk about today. Because now we've been doing a lot of meditations together, and I've been particularly taking you through this idea of going through the chakras, opening up the base chakra, right? And also then moving like a sea of light below us and moving the light up the spine, you remember, and into the third eye, and then opening the top of the head with the energy of the aura expanding. I suppose that's it in essence. And each time I've been giving you slightly different variations about how we can do this and what we can do to make this work. But today, I want to focus on kind of another aspect of meditation. So we're going to go about things in a slightly different way. Now, you see, what I'm teaching is partly meditation and also partly what I would call attunement with spirit, which would be the spiritualist way of thinking about how we connect with the spirit world. So I'm bringing in multiple ideas here when we talk about these things. But so let me just kind of first give you an idea of what actually do we mean by meditation, you know? One way of looking at it is that perhaps it's a form of exploring the mind and exploring the soul as well, because when we're in meditation, it's very hard to explain what meditation actually is. Once you're in it, you realize you're in it. You know, it's like a state of peaceful oneness. And actually, ultimately, the ultimate state of meditation is beyond everything, is beyond thoughts. It's a state that they call samadhi, which is an attunement with the absolute bliss of being. Okay. But in just looking at it on very simple terms, first of all, if we think about what we're like, we could perhaps say that our mind has different levels to it, right? So we could say that there's like the lower mind, right? And some people, when we first go into meditation, your consciousness might be linked very much with what I would call the lower mind. Okay, so the lower mind could be something like, I don't mind you asking questions as you go, because I can see the questions coming up. But so I'm going to talk a little bit first. But the lower mind is like everything that controls the body, the heartbeat, the deeper emotions in some respect in terms of fear, and the primordial type of energies of the brain. It could be also linked to this idea of there's an unconscious mind, a collective unconscious. Sorry, I've got a cough again today. So that lower mind is kind of like our instinctive self. And sometimes when you go into meditation, your focus might be on that whole area. So you become much more aware of, for example, the body. You know, you become much more aware of the body because you're at that point in time, your mind is still focused on the lower mind, the worldly mind as well, we could call that, you know. And so that's kind of got to be part of, that's all part of us. You know, it's not something that's lesser or because it's lower. It doesn't mean it's worse. We couldn't function with that mind that makes the heart beat, for example, or a mind that makes the blood circulate and the nerves work. You know, that's all part of our function. But, you know, our consciousness can be in that stage. So it's important that we recognize that sometimes our awareness is on that part of the mind, that layer of our existence. And then I suppose there's another level of consciousness in a broad sense, which is kind of what I could call the middle mind, you know, the rational mind, the mind that gets knowledge bit by bit. You know, it learns things, it constructs things, it has reason, it has higher levels of thinking and feeling, it has memory, it has personal memory, It has, so all those sort of day-to-day functions that we have in our normal self are in that sort of middle mind, you know. And in our meditation, sometimes that middle mind might be extremely active. So you might go into meditation, you're thinking about what you've got to do, what's the shopping list, you know, or basic simple things, or a problem you've had on your mind and so forth. And again, we don't reject that, because that's all still part of who we are, you know, we've got that part of our mind as well. So again, but we don't get stuck in it, do we? So but it's there, you know, so we don't want to be sat in a meditation running through equations or something. We're going to move beyond that. And then there's also the mind that I would call, I don't know really, I wrote it down. I wrote down the word supermind or superconscious, but I think probably supermind is a better word for it, which is kind of the higher mind that we connect with, that is like a higher intuition, you know. Clairvoyance comes from there, I believe. Mediumship connection comes from there. The higher levels of imagination and creativity come from there. So when, for example, Mozart would just be able to play a tune without having learnt it, it came from that level of his mind. Or when a great artist was able to do fantastic paintings without ever having learnt anything, it perhaps came from that higher mind, plus perhaps past lives. But, you know, that higher mind, that super mind, has the capability of doing incredible things, of learning things and knowing languages that we've never known before. So that, I believe, is the super mind. So we have that as well, all of us. We're all on these layers and levels. And that's a pretty broad kind of definition of things. But it's an interesting way of thinking that in our meditation, we kind of move between these things. We kind of explore a bit, don't we, in our meditation? We explore. So sometimes, and I think it's important to recognize that sometimes when we go into meditation, we might be stuck in that lower mind, the bodily mind. So we sit in our meditation and all we're thinking about is how uncomfortable it feels, or we might be still in an emotional state. You know, we might still feel negative emotions if we had an argument with someone, or there's been something on our mind, or something's worrying us. You know, we get stuck on that level. And equally, we could also get stuck on that intellectual level where our brain is still functioning on thinking about things and it's distracted, you know. Or it could go to the higher levels and we can start to get in a state of awareness. Or it could just blank out altogether and you go into a non-state, which is basically relaxed sleep. And that's, again, you know, so you wasted your meditation, you just had a good sleep, but wasted your meditation. But nonetheless, we explore all these things. And ultimately, particularly when I think we come to the higher mind stuff that I was talking about, we come to a state where we kind of realize that we're beyond our body and instincts on the lower level. We're beyond our rationality and thinking and reason. We're beyond even all those special imaginations and superhuman powers that each of us also has. You know, we're beyond all that. We are something else. We are the observer of all this. You know, we are the observer of the observer. Even we're the observer of the I, that little I, the ego, that who we are, who travels around and explores all this mind. Actually, we're also aware of that. So today, I feel I want to talk to you and help you to understand, and you do a simple technique to help you to get away from all the racket of all those three levels. You know, all of it. You know, and to enter a state that is closer to the self-realization state, I suppose. But the way we have to do that is we have to withdraw. You know, we have to withdraw our attention, not only from the world around us, but also withdraw our attention from the very clatter that's going on in our mind itself. And that's a hard task to do, because we are all entwined in our brain. And as you know, you can't force something out of the brain either. Otherwise, you start getting into the states where things come back in negative ways. This is a form of what Freud and Jung and people talked about, repression, you know, and suppression. We don't want to push things out because all these things have energy. But we can get to a state where instead of being entangled, we can become observers, you know, we can become kind of passive and active at the same time in some ways. We can become a sort of just watcher. of who we are. And this may sound very simple, but the simple act of observing ourselves and observing our mind and observing our thoughts and our feelings and observing our body posture and observing what's any other sensations that are coming in from the world around us and letting it all just be, just let it be, just don't worry about changing anything and just letting it be, is a very, very, very powerful form of meditation. Because it sounds very simplistic, but actually you have done something absolutely deeply fundamental in yourself. I mean, you have separated your sense of who you are from your thoughts, from your feelings, from your memories, from the sensations in the world. And you can, for a short time, sit in the peace of just being who you are. So this whole meditation is about finding that beautiful, peaceful center within ourselves. So we're not talking about just being in a relaxed state, which is all very nice, but we're talking about understanding the fundamental peace that lies behind all form. That behind all this, there is a absolute blissful peace. I can't remember who said it, but the peace that passeth all understanding, a peace beyond our comprehension, a peace that we can't even grasp with the mind, a peace that is so overwhelmingly beautiful that it's almost ecstatic, right? So that does lie within us. But we can't get to it most of the time because we can't withdraw our consciousness. We can't withdraw our consciousness from the entanglement, particularly within the world. Now, in the yogic system, it's called the eight limbs of yoga. Okay. There's a thing called Pratyahara. Okay. Now, Pratyahara is the idea of withdrawing the senses. Now that all sounds very kind of austere and pretty tough and a bit sort of world rejectionist sort of thing, which would many people would sort of think's not a good idea, but actually that would be a wrong way of thinking it. It's more a letting go of the things that are binding us. It's like allowing the bird to fly. It's like taking the weights off the balloon so it can soar. Because we are all the time entangled in things that cause us a great deal of pain, Our thoughts alone can cause us a great deal of pain. Now, when you do this, and you do this simple meditation, big things might come up in your mind, because, it's a pretty scary thing to let go. And it's a pretty scary thing to kind of stop self-indulging, and it's a pretty scary thing to let go of it. But remember, what you're doing here anyway, it's really, it can go back to it all later if you want to. If you want to go back to being an idiot, which I will, we do. In meditation, we can enter a lovely state. If you want to go back to it, it's all going to be there again when you come back. You can the problems, you can start worrying about the problems again. But for now, we're going into a state of withdrawal of the consciousness, right? Withdrawal of the consciousness from the world around us, and to become what they call the drashta bhava. I'll get the words right. I forget them, but it means kind of like to become. Instead of entangled, to become the witness of what's happening, and even the witness of ourselves, And what we're going to do is I'm going to take you into a very simple meditation now. And I felt I needed to explain this because, those that are sitting with me are learning here, and we're all connecting. And when you come back later and watch this video and people come back to it, you're still connected. When groups of people meditate with a collective focus like this, with our minds, our thoughts, our feelings, they all connect because we go into that higher supermind, as I was talking about here. But we can observe. So what I'm going to tell you to do is I'll talk you through it, but we're going to observe the world around us. We're going to listen very, very carefully to the world around us. So I've got the builders outside. They've gone quiet now. But even if they were there, I can listen to it. And if I listen with kind of, I suppose I want to say the word non-attachment to it, with indifference, as I'm the witness, a spectator to these things, an absolute sort of detachment, really. If I can get complete detachment to everything that's happening, good or bad, then I'm in quite an interesting state because I'm not entangled. So if there's noise outside in your room now, or there's a television playing somewhere, or if there's car traffic, good. Let it all be part of the meditation, because this technique will also help you to meditate in all sorts of difficult situations. So if you've got someone yapping outside and you're trying to meditate, instead of being, oh, shut up, shut up, shut up, you're lost. But if you can just let it all be part of it, with complete indifference to everything, you'll actually find, one of the strange things I've noticed with this is you don't even understand what they're talking about. It just turns into a chatter, because your mind is not following it, and it's just going through, and your brain is almost letting it pass through your brain without any connection to it. It's great if anybody's nagging you. But so this is this kind of idea of indifference. So what we'll be doing first, we'll be listening to the world around us. We're going to look at the world first, then we're going to listen to the world, and then we're going to go into ourselves, and then we can do things like I said, there's 3 layers of the brain and the body, as it were, the 3 layers of the lower mind. We can observe the body on the lower mind and just let it be as it is, but we just watch it. So we're actually withdrawing our attention from it. So if, say, for example, you're uncomfortable, actually it's best to be comfortable. You don't want something that's nagging too much, but still, nonetheless, even if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, you can just put the observation on that and take the observation off again. Because what you learn is to control your focus of observation and move it again to something else, and move the attention to where you want the attention to move. You remember when we did this whole business about moving around the body that I taught you in one of the earlier things we did here, that we were moving the attention. But now we're kind of moving the attention in different ways, because we're moving the attention, for example, to the body. We went from the world to the body to the breath. We'll look at the breath and watch the breath, and then we'll watch the thoughts, and we'll watch the spontaneous thoughts that appear out of nowhere, and we'll put our full attention on them. But then the important thing is we don't follow it, no matter how interesting it might be or how horrible it might be, because you'll often find dreadful things will come up too. But we're going to be doing this with complete detachment, just like the way we watch a movie. We don't freak out every time there's something happens on a movie. We just watch it. We're just the watcher, and we'll watch great things, and we might get intrigued by it and interested, but then we let it go. We might see something really negative come up, a thought about something horrible that happened sometime in the past or was happening now. Watch it, see it, let it go. Those thoughts may appear to you in different ways. You might have them as feelings, because they're still thoughts. You might get pictures, that's still thoughts. You might just get an abstract type of thought where your brain's running on. You think what thoughts are. They're a strange thing. They're very hard to define, aren't they? Because we all think differently too. But you might get pictures. You might get dream-like images. Let that come up. Observe it. But let it go. All right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to let it go. And it might get really interesting for you. You might think, oh, God, I've got to follow that through. That's so interesting. That's such an interesting picture. I can learn so much from that. No. And let it go. All right? Because if we do it this way, we start to become... Because what we're trying to do here is train the attention in some respects and understand the difference between our thoughts. And like I say, sometimes there's even thoughts that come from outside, from other people, because we're all connected when we do this. But our thoughts and other thoughts and the watcher, and if we can just get into that state where we're the watcher and we let it come, we let it go, and we watch, and then we actually start to get close to that state that I was talking about of absolute peace. Because that's where the mind is. Once the mind is empty of all this racket, we can start to be who we really are. You know, we can start just to sit with ourselves and just be who we are. Okay, so I filled your head with a lot of chatter. So now let's have a think about the actual meditation itself. So I want you all to make sure you're nice and comfortable. And even if there's noise around you, it's not going to make any difference, because we're going to bring that into the meditation. So let's first of all, let's get relaxed again. Let's let the whole body completely relax. Obviously, close your eyes and let those bodily pressures fall away. And I want you now, as we begin to go into a state of relaxation and we just feel the pressures going, I want you to listen very carefully to every sound, not just the sounds nearby, but listen as far into the distance as you can as well. Listen with a superhuman ear. You might hear your inner ear too, and sounds from within the body, and if you know the inner sounds as well you might hear, but just listen to the faintest sound and just observe it. So listen very deeply. Listen to the sounds far, far away. Just observe them. And also the sounds of yourself. My tummy's gurgling, for example, so you can hear that. You'll hear your own heartbeat. And take the attention far away again as well. Far in the distance. Listen for the sounds close to you. Click of a light. Sound of a clock. And take it out again far away. Now close to you as well. See how you're moving your attention here in the world. Bring your attention to the body. Attention to the feeling of being sat. And now take it out again, far away. Listen, listen, listen to the far distance. And bring the attention back to you again, back to the body. Can you see how this could develop into a city power? Remote viewing works very much like this. But that's not the plan today. So now, focus the attention on the body. Every sensation that comes, your mind will move from one thing to another. 1 minute it might be on the hands, 1 minute it might be on the face, the back, where you sat. Just observe as the sensation comes, but do not follow it, just watch it. Watch the body. When the sensation comes, whatever it might be, put your full attention on that and then move on. You might notice some physical sensation, observe it with full attention and then let go. And wait for the next impression to come to you. So even as we're sat quietly like this, the brain is being bombarded by sensations from all directions in the body itself. When a sensation comes, whether it's a sound outside or whether it's in the body itself as we're talking now, put your attention on it, follow it, let go. Let the next sensation come. Watch it, observe, let go. Now you would notice that your breath has become very quiet now, having done this. Your breath will be beautifully gentle. So put your attention now on the breath. Watch the breath for a while. Don't try to change it or alter it or do anything to it. Just let it be. Just watch the way the breath rises and falls. All on its own. Nice and relaxed as well. Because as you do this, you've also let go of all the tension in the world too. As you come into your natural, peaceful inner state. Feel how everything is filled with peace. The breath is filled with peace. And now let's take our attention to our thoughts. You may want to have the focus in the third eye as we talked about before in the middle of the brain, but watch the thoughts come. If no thoughts come, watch the no thoughts. If it's blank, be observed of the blankness, as it were. But something will arise, thoughts will arise, maybe in the picture form for some of you, maybe just as a feeling, a thought, or something's on your mind. Put your absolute full attention on it. Whatever spontaneously arises in the mind, or you might still get sensations around you or in your body, wherever the sensation arises, put your full attention on when you spot something. Look at it until you can see it with absolute clarity, and then just let go of it. And wait for the next one. Another thought comes. Observe it. Don't get tangled in it. Whatever it is, just watch it. Give it some energy. Look into it. See it as clear as you can. What's that thought all about? Its feelings, its memories, its connections. And then just let go. I like to do this for a while. Whatever sensation comes, observe it, let go. Wherever your attention goes, observe it, and let go. Whatever thought comes, observe it and let go. Just keep relaxing into it. Let it be. Whatever might arise, give it your attention, let it be, and then let go. As the thought comes, watch it, full attention, let go. Now these thoughts are like clouds that go across the great void of the sky, don't they? In that great emptiness of the sky. You look into a blue sky, it's so beautiful and peaceful, isn't it? And that's the same within you. All of these thoughts, feelings and sensations were rising out of who knows where, but they all float through the peace that's behind it all, the silence behind the sounds, the pure peace behind the inner dialogue. Now bring your whole attention to the great void of peace through which all this goes through. The peace that sustains it all. Focus your whole attention entirely on that concept of the peace that passes all understanding, that goes beyond thought, that goes beyond feeling, that goes beyond any possible description. Let yourself see that peace that lays behind all form. It's always there. No matter how bad life gets, it's always there. In fact, that peace is filled with other great qualities too. It's filled with the power of truth. It's filled with the power of love. It's filled with the power of absolute consciousness. Nothing can go wrong because you are always at one with that glorious peace behind all existence. So you have there done a little bit of what we call the Pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. Step back from all that you are and stepped into the state that you really are. Quietude, the absolute stillness of being. So now we need to come back again. So allow your sensations to let them feel the sensation of the body again. You might have completely lost touch with it when you were in that state, if you'd let yourself go completely. Become aware of the body. Become aware again of your normal thinking. But bring with yourself that feeling of peace that is behind all this. You have been, in a way, in a passive state of meditation. But in the world, we can actually bring an active state of meditation into the world itself, because we can bring that peaceful state into everything we do. So as you begin to feel yourself coming back to normal awareness, and you begin to feel your body coming back into activity again, and the mind beginning to work on its own, and thoughts appearing and going, and your mind's coming back to normal consciousness, know that behind you always is this wonderful sense of inner peace, that it's always there in the background, and that through these simple techniques that I show you, you can at any time go into that state. So I ask you to come back now, those that have been following me here and joining me with this, and remember that you can do this type of meditation any time. I find it very useful sometimes, like if I'm sat waiting in the car or something, in the car park, enjoying myself shopping or something, I'll sit there and I'll just listen to all the sounds that are coming. And that is my route in, it's my way in to the meditation sometimes. So this is a very simple technique, and I hope that was of some help to you today. And I hope you enjoyed that. And if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to ask me, and I'll try to answer some of them on, if those that will join us later I haven't followed the live one, I'll try to answer some of the questions in the comments below. So if you're kind of new to this channel, please do follow us, and then you'll get updates if you click the little bell thing that I will tell you about. And you'll be able to, if you become a patron, you can come and join me live online. And we'll do it like you'll join us like today's session, where we all connect together with our energy. Now, I'm not going to do any clairvoyance after this one today. I just felt I wanted to do something with you that is very simple, really. Now, just to remind you what some of the terms we used here today were. This type of meditation is a variation, really, of a traditional technique called antar-mona, which means inner peace. You missed the start. Sorry, you missed the start there. I see you just saying to the comments, but don't worry. You came in. You can always go back and listen to it again. But hopefully, so just as a little summary for you, those that missed the beginning too, antar-mona. It kind of means like the idea of inner peace, really, basically, of letting go, of going to that space behind all the clatter. And you also withdrew the senses. So this is another part of the whole concept of meditation, is that we move ourselves away from attachment to the world. We also move away from who we are normally, our misconception of who we are, of living in the ego and living from thought to thought and thought to thought, and moving with attention that jumps everywhere. But we train the attention here to withdraw and to observe and to be the witness. So this was one of the most important things here. And that we can move that mind also between all different layers in the mind of the perceptions, right from the lower mind through the middle mind I described into the superconscious mind. So sometimes it's nice to do in the garden in the sunshine. Glad you like that too. I see there through just saying there. Yeah, it's lovely to do it somewhere like the garden or the sunshine. It's always nice to do meditation in somewhere where you feel comfortable. And also another thing, I took us in straight into listening. Sometimes when you do this meditation, it's quite a good idea to just look around everything for a while, just look everything and observe. That's your first step into the meditation. Sometimes I teach people, because it kind of tells the mind, it tells the unconscious mind, it says, it's all right, it's safe here, it's safe. So just look around, everything's clear, it's sort of just observe it, watch everything, look at the colors, look at the shapes, then you relax, then you move in, and then instead of moving around with your eyes, you move around with your ears, as it were, you listen. But I hope that helped you, yeah, and I hope some of you also found that listening interesting. Now, sometimes you might get something like tinnitus, which can be a bit of a distraction, because I sometimes suffer from tinnitus. But again, listen to that even, that just to take it on board as part of you see a purple pulsing light, you say. But that's still quite good. That's going to be your third eye center opening and things like that. But don't worry about any of that for this type of aspect of meditation. Because remember, this is just one thing I'm teaching you today. Let it be again. It's, just let it be. Everything you absorb, because you'll get all sorts of interesting stuff. And sometimes actually you'll get some heavy stuff as well, and it's again, like I said, when you're watching a movie, you're not thinking, oh my God, I'm hurting. You're just observing it, and it was like a white noise, someone said, yeah, because sometimes you might hear a hissing in your ears. You can hear a tinnitus sound. There are other techniques which I'll be showing you later on about how to listen to the inner ear. When you can hear all sorts of things like bells and gongs and conchs, they say, Krishna's conch, they call it, and there's also the sounds of the inner ear. So that's another form of meditation that can be done with this idea of listening, the listening to meditation. They're very, very powerful techniques, actually, some of these, but it's very simple, isn't it? Super, super simple technique that I think can take us beyond the ego and closer to self-realization. The understanding that all this clatter of the mind and all these self-important things that we keep worrying about. My dog's snoring, that's a good one. But even so, you can still take that in. I mean, Yogananda, he had one student that couldn't focus on his meditation, and he used to get annoyed with every single bit of noise that was around. And he said he made him meditate on a motorway, on a little hut or something by a motorway, which was making an endless racket the whole time, and told him just to absorb that sound all the time, let that become part of his meditation. And he learned to meditate with the sound. In fact, he got so used to the sound that he found it hard not to meditate without the motorway going by. And in my own personal psychic circle too, we've had a situation where we got everybody down, all sat for meditation, and suddenly we realized that they got one of those cheap old big clocks in the room that's going tick, tick, tick. And I could tell that everybody's attention in the room is on that clock. Now, we either stop the meditation, get up and move the clock, or, as I said in that particular meditation, I said, listen to the clock, take it into your meditation practice, make it part of your meditation practice. It's there, observe it. And actually, everybody came out and said, I had a fantastic meditation. The clock disappeared, and then it was there, and I didn't care. And it's like your unconscious mind will put it into the background. It knows it's not important. It can stay there. And it's the same with the clatter of the mind as well. And it is a powerful tool, Carolyn, like you're saying there. And it is a very powerful tool because it's very, very simple. It's kind of like listening, like you say, because it's kind of like it's inner listening, isn't it? We're listening to the world, and we're kind of listening and seeing our thoughts. We're just watching what appears, because I'm going on a bit too much perhaps, but when you're listening, I find you get an extraordinary ability to hear things. And I particularly do this sort of very early in the morning when there's not much noise around. You might hear some door opening 8 blocks down the street, sort of thing, it feels like, or a bird miles away. And you think, God, I never realized I had such an extraordinary ability to listen. And it's the same, that sort of observation gives us a real acuteness of attention, a heightening of our perceptions that then we can kind of internalize. And it's amazing the thoughts that come up in the brain. And it's, or even when I said to you, look, go around the body, I mean, did you find that was kind of distracting or helpful? Because, 1 minute I like an itchy nose, and so you observe it, listen to watch the itchy nose, and move on, or you might be a bit uncomfortable. I pulled my shoulder a little bit today, so there's a bit of a pain in my shoulder. Brain to it, thought to it, see it, full attention on it, let go. And suddenly, actually, it disappears out of your consciousness. It's like pain is like that too, isn't it? Because pain is almost like screaming for our attention. So we give it when our instinct is to try to push it away and not have any attention to it. But if we give it our full attention, then the pain, we see through it in a way. We see through it and it becomes just a sensation. These people that do these extraordinary feats where they do, put swords through themselves and things like that and do all these extraordinary superhuman feats, they do a similar technique where they have to get themselves in a sort of a zone, a sort of a bubble, where they're kind of in this slightly altered state of consciousness that I think is very similar to what we've been doing here. There's a slight altering of our state of consciousness when we do this. We are not so attached to the body, for example. We're not so attached to our brain and thoughts and our emotions and any painful memories or good memories. We're not tied in. We're letting go. And that, I feel, is something that I think would be quite useful to those of you that have joined us today. And I hope that's been a useful meditation for you. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there and say thank you to everybody for joining me again. And like I say, if you're new to this channel, do please, not so sure the hot cold yes. Agility, thank you. Yeah, but again, the hot cold thing doesn't work like that. It is kind of, we have superhuman powers. And we'll talk about some of these ideas of the supermind too that I was talking about today, about how we can get into states of higher intuition and do all sorts of things and learn more than just clairvoyance and mediumship. We've got to look to the true powers of what we have and why we have these. So thanks again for all of you. I'm going to say goodbye to you now. Bye for now. And don't forget, follow this channel. Bye.